Hello, everybody, and welcome. All thanks to LD Mobile. It is NBL Overtime. Boys, I'm back home. I'm back home. I don't condone breaking and entering, but I've been able to slide the back door open, and I'm in the old NBL Overtime studio. Can't get the lights on, one or two up, but I'm home. What's up?
Wow. Is this are we transitioning back to the studio? Is this the first step?
I have no idea. I just, what I thought, I got out of bed this morning. I was like, I just feel better in the NBL Overtime studio. So the janitor's here. He's still mopping up over. Thanks, Doug. He's working on his stuff, but we'll do the show. Hello to you. We've got a big segment coming today. Homicide, welcome to you. You've slid something into the rundown, which I like.
Look, I'm happy to be back here, but look, the man is here. Yeah. We all got questions. We need answers. Let's get into it. Coach Vickerman, what is going on?
Mate, I'm back in the office today, so kind of little starved of basketball, so I come and watch the Boomers and the Opals work out through my window. Yeah, it's good. It's good to just understand that we're going to have a season, and we've got a starting date. And I think once we get that first date, then everyone starts to get into gear about how do we plan for the season.
Dean, you joined Liam and I a couple of weeks ago on NBL Rewind, and you spoke about, you're sort of neutral in this situation. We didn't know when free agency was going to start. The season you just touched on was still obviously up in the air. Now we do have a date officially for free agency and the season. How much in the last couple of weeks have you and your team really clicked into gear and changing the focus of what you're working on?
Yeah, I think you change from, your wish list to really start being active in the market. And our club's been fantastic, and we understood where we sat for a while about not making moves and not spending money during this period. But now it's got to that point where free agency is coming around, and our ownership is just as excited as us to start to try and put a team together. So certainly our meetings, our conversations have moved from the wish to the let's get it done.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel a lot more like now where you said you're a bit antsy last time we spoke to you, sort of sitting around now, competitive beast, you're all about setting this roster and getting ready to go. Do you feel a bit better, I guess, within yourself about where you're sitting this weird couple of months?
Well, I feel better about just getting out of the house and feeling like, there's something positive I can do, and having the guys back on the floor, a little bit. And my girls are pretty happy about me leaving the house as well. They've hidden up in their room recently because any time they come downstairs, Dad's giving them a job, Dad's making them do something, Dad's coaching them, Dad's doing stuff. So they're happy I'm out of the house.
Vico, you talk about the wish list during that period.
Well, see, this is what happens. It happens. It happens every time, every week. He gets excited. There's signings on the horizon. He boots out his microphone. Continue, Liam.
I got my chance to speak to Vico, and I fell flat. Vico, you talk about the wish list. During that period of time, Sean Long signed in South Korea. Melo Trimble has signed in Spain. Did those guys sit on that wish list? Did you have a desire to bring either of those guys back?
We knew either one of those guys were going to be a late signing for us. We weren't in a position to offer them anything, during this period. So, certainly, we loved what they brought at different stages of the year, and we found a rhythm at the end of the year. So, certainly we hadn't discounted either of those two guys from coming back, but obviously wish them well, in the jobs that they've got, to see Melo go to ACB and, Sean in a tough Korean league over there as well. So, wish those guys really well and appreciate what they did for the club.
Coach, let's get into it. What we doing with Chris Golan? What we doing with CG43? The country wants to know. What are we doing?
And I knew this was coming. So, we're both in a still a bit of a holding pattern with him. It's, we would love to have him back, and we haven't been in a position to go out and make the offer that he needs to come back to Melbourne United. There's still an itch that he's got with Europe as well at this stage, and so he's going to continue to see what opportunities present themselves in Europe. and then, look at our offer at an appropriate time as well. And, with the season date coming around and free agency coming around, we can probably see our two worlds coming together at a point where, yes, it's going to happen, or no, it's not going to happen, in the foreseeable future.
I know it's early, but do you put, from a club perspective, do you put a date on that?
Yeah, we've started to a little bit more. I was, until we got a start date, we were happy, and both parties were happy to, just to let this thing go along, find out more information, find out, where our budget's going to get to. Are we going to have fans, which is important to, how our business runs and all those kind of things. What offers are coming from Europe? So, we'd like to have, that situation, tidied up around the free agency period.
Vico, always hard to keep a championship team together, but since you guys won that title in 2018, the following off season, Ty Wesley left the club. And then last season, obviously, you guys were in negotiations with Casper Ware and he went elsewhere. What have you guys learnt from those situations that help you or tool you or you're using with this situation with Chris?
Yeah, I don't think it'd been any different when I was in New Zealand. And we had people, elite talent, come and go all through the 3-4 championships that we won over there. And so it's not something that's new. When you have success, people are going to get opportunities that are greater than you can afford. And and you wish them well. We wish Casper well. Go ahead. That's a great opportunity for you to for your family and the money that you can earn in Sydney. We can't match that one. And so you got to get to a point where, as a club, you're happy with the offer. You believe it works for you and for both parties. And if you can't come to an agreement there, well, good luck to you and wish you well with the opportunity that you got. So with this one with Chris, obviously, he's been the face of our club. He's our championship MVP of the finals. When it got tough last year, he was one of the guys that put his hand up and said, no, we can still make it. We can still get to the finals. We can still have a crack at the championship. And, some of the meetings that we had with him away from the court, in a restaurant to talk about how we get out of this situation, I thought he did a magnificent job. And, you want to reward people that dig in the trenches when it gets tough.
That's just the gift and the curse of being a part of a quality organization. Other people want that DNA with their organization. So, great players sometimes have an opportunity to stay with the club and great players move on. That's just the nature of the beast. Now, speaking of great players staying with the club, you got Mitch McCarron, money-making Mitch, with you. Obviously, he played a lot of his role with you guys off the bench, coming off the bench, sometimes starter. We know he can play point. We know he's quality. Will he be your starting point guard this upcoming season?
No, I'm not sure when we brought him off the bench. Yeah, I think he started every game for the year. But, we used Shea Illy more as the season went along, as our starting point guard as well. So, the combination of Mitch and Shea and Chris, was pretty tough defensively, and we still had the scoring punch as well. So, do you come back with Shea and Mitch? Do one of those come off the bench and be a six-man as well? So, they're the things that lay in front of us. But Mitch has always been searching for an absolute true position and an international position. And we played him at the 3 spot. He played more combo guard on offense, but he guarded the 3s. But he wants a real crack at the point guard position. And there's still some learnings there for him, but we've seen enough to say, we think you can do it. And it's probably a little bit more closer to a Perth model, with a Damian Martin and your scoring in other guard positions as well. But, we believe Mitch can do both things, and he can get his 12 to 14 points a game, get his 5 or 6 rebounds a game, pick up his 4 assists. And if he does that, he's got to be looked at, down the track with the Boomers for opportunities to be in point guard at 6'3" as well.
Vigo, what's the latest word regards Casey Prather? Where's he at?
We follow his Instagram every day as he posts his workouts, and he's in constant contact with our physio staff. He looks good, and just like he did throughout the year when we continued to get him close to playing, and then he'd miss on the last step in just jumping back on the court. And so, he's contracted, and he has to pass his medical, and he probably would, the way he was running around right now. And the athletic guy that we saw in Vegas last year as well, the thing that we question is, can he get through the grind of the season? And somehow within our testing for him to pass his medical, we have to find a way for him to see, can he go through the grind of a season? Because if you can't do that, it's a difficult recruitment just to have him practice once or twice a week. We need a guy that's going to be there every step of the way.
Just on that sounds extremely complicated to be able to work out a testing phase to be able to see if a guy can play a whole year. And you mentioned it right. Many times you thought he was right to go, then he sort of, that last little misstep. How hard is it to be able to do it with the fitness staff, to be able to work out a way to make this work? Because he does look great. And he did look great 12 months ago when we were able to see him in Vegas. And right now you'd say, this is the Casey Prather you need. But the disruption that sort of you had at different times last year where you thought he was going to come back in and probably set you back a week or two every now and then. How hard is it and complicated is it to make a call on this?
I think obviously Corona's made it a little more difficult as well. Do we fly over there and put him through the testing that we need to? Do we bring him out here early and get him through, a month of practice? And so, they're all the situations that we're going through right now to work out what is best. We believe to bring him out here and get him through the daily grind of our practices and the scrimmages that we put together. That's certainly going to be the best test to see if Casey can do it on the day-to-day.
Like most NBL clubs, or in particular two in Melbourne, of course, with Southeast Melbourne Phoenix and yourself, you're having some open scrimmages. Are you involved in that from a coaching perspective, or you just open the doors and let the boys get up and down? How does that all work from your end?
Yeah, I think we want it to be known as a place that you go and there's no individual work. You just come in, you get yourself ready and you go. And sometimes my influence on the scrimmage has been, it's too slow. We're playing 14-second shot clock for the next 3 scrimmages, and we're playing faster. They're kind of, it's a bit sluggish right now. Let's go and play as fast as we can and get shots up and work on the fitness component. So we put a little bit of structure into it, say on a make or a miss, these are some of the things that we want to play around with, and then just let them go and not get too involved in the coaching side of it. As more competitive it's got, they've kind of asked me to make a couple of calls down my end and get back to my referee hat on a little bit. But, we've had, 2 runs going. We've had a 10 o'clock run where 15 guys have been coming in. We've had an 11 o'clock run where another 15 guys have been coming in. So, it's been a lot of guys through the door and, free agents, college returnees, our guys. It's been a great mix of basketball talent in Victoria.
And of course, there's the Vince Crivelli run where he runs down from his office with a contract for Jock Landale and says, mate, you want to hang around for a couple of years? So there's plenty of runs happening right now at Melbourne United. And judging by the footage we get to see, and Simon Mitchell spoke about this as well, the players do get a lot out of it.
Yeah, and we didn't want to, have a run on the same day as the Phoenix as well. We wanted guys to be able to go and get a couple of good runs during the week. So we put ours on a Wednesday. They've got theirs on a Friday. And it's been good for, players coming back to Melbourne to be able to go and visit both clubs and get some work in with both clubs. So, yeah, Jock Landale, he'd be lovely. But
Vic, I want to ask you about your impressions of one of the other guys who's been involved in those runs, Terrellgan's own Jack White. You mentioned the college returnees. I mean, he's going to be in the NBL this season. We know that. Watching him in these runs, what are your impressions of him? What kind of impact do you think he'll have in the NBL this season?
Yeah, well, he only just got out of quarantine last week, so he quarantined in Sydney for a couple of weeks and returned back to Melbourne last week. So he didn't participate in our run. He visited our run on Wednesday and has gone back home to Traralgon to be with his family. And yeah, I think he's going to participate tomorrow. So it'll be good to see him. Good to see what he learnt in college and how he's going to look in the NBL. So yeah, look forward to tomorrow.
Who's a bigger name in Traralgon, Jack White or Dean Vickerman?
Oh.
Mate, I'm a Warragul boy. We don't even like Traralgon. We don't go up there. So definitely Jack White.
That's been the obstruction to possibly signing Jack White due to the Warragul Traralgon rivalry, isn't it, Dino?
I can't say anything.
You can't say anything. Okay, fair enough.
I got a question, right? Let's just say you're an unknown, not signed, didn't play in the NBL this season, and managed to get into one of the runs of Melbourne United open runs, because I'm pretty sure everybody can't get in there. And they impress. What are their odds of potentially getting a real tryout with an NBL club, mainly your club, Melbourne United, if there's a spot available on your team? Like, is there a real possibility, or it's just really like, nah, we're glad that you came, to help the run be better and more competitive? Or could there be a look?
Yeah, there's some of that. We obviously, to get into the run right now, you have to sign up with email and accept and say that you're coming. And so we know everybody that's in the gym for COVID. We've had players that obviously the first run is we believe is the higher level run. We've had some guys that have been in the second run that have been elevated to the first run, and hey, he's doing pretty well on the first run right now. And to say maybe it's not this year, but we got a really good look at that kid. He's gone back to college or he's done something else, but you create a relationship with them, and hopefully they return. So yeah, there's always a potential for someone to jump up like that and find a spot as a development or a training player. Dylan Stipe is one of those guys who kept coming to our runs, goes and plays, a couple of times in NBA games, gets an injury, gets onto our roster, plays a few games. That side of it's real.
No NBL 1 as well, just on that. No NBL 1 this year, of course, or no lower levels across the country when it comes to sport. Does that make it even more imperative to be able to maybe find a diamond in the rough this way?
Well, with our roster and only having 3 guys signed, it made you look at everything. We hadn't been a team that had really looked at the next star. So we go out and we keep seeing everybody that's coming through that next star program, and maybe we even hold on some positions to say, let's look at the draft. Is there another draft and stash? Because to me, DD's the best next star that's come to our league. He was great on the floor. He played the whole year. He's not worrying about the draft coming up. And so, can you find a draft and stash later on? With the draft getting pushed back, the timing of that becomes a little more difficult. You look at the Asian player rule to say, what else is out there in that market? Is there something that we can bring to our league that's going to add value to our team, to our league? Can we attract a different audience? And then you're looking at your free agents and your imports as well. So, we had the opportunity to look at everything and we looked at younger guys, because over the years we've had, a pretty full roster, and to get a younger guy, all they see is minutes. Yep, there's some dollars attached to it, but they just want minutes. If you can offer minutes, you got a chance at getting them.
Hey, Vico, you mentioned looking out your window and seeing the national training out there. Lift the curtain a little bit for us. Who and what do you see out there?
Yeah, Dave Anderson I hadn't seen down there before, so he's out there working with Gord, showing him what he can do, and I'm sure he wants to go around again, and he had to put in some pretty good performances last year. So it could possibly be a great signing coming back for them as a veteran. Sunday's probably the biggest free agent in the league right now. He's running around and he's participating in our scrimmages, and it's been great to see the growth of him as a player in our league. Who else we got down there? Kyle, Emmett Nah, Chris Golding, Josh Giddy. Yeah, so there's some good talent running around down there. Jock Landale.
Good talent, very much on the money. All right, before we let you go, Dean, of course, the Black Lives Matter movement right across the world, and rightfully so, continuing the conversation, of course, of racial injustice. And I believe there was a conversation led by Melbourne United and people within it, as well as an education session with players right around the country and the world.
Yeah, I think as a club, like, every other club, and it was good to hear Will Weaver talk about, he's gone back into study, the Indigenous, and how their impact. And, I went to Black Lives Matter rally, and then the club stood me down for a week until I'd been tested for corona before I was allowed to come back into the gym. And but I've got young girls and young kids, and they're from mixed background as well, and it was an issue that was big for me, and to go. If we hadn't had corona, I would have had them come as well. But I think as a club, it's like, what are we going to do? How can we have an impact from this? And so Dave Patrick had spoken to Vince Cavalli about, let's chat about this. And so we got together a call of Dave Patrick, and we got Copes and Copes and DMAC and Kane Muir, an Aboriginal player that came through the Tiger system, Joe Cool and Shay Illy, all from, different backgrounds. We asked, how did racism impact them in Melbourne during their playing time? How was it off the floor? And has there been any injustice about them going for jobs, and have they felt that? And so it was really open forum, about what they felt. And it was pretty appalling to hear some of the things that Kane Muir, as an Aboriginal player growing up in Melbourne, dealt with. Joe Cool just walking down the street, some of the things that he has to deal with. And so it got to a point that's like, now we understand this a little bit more. Let's look at our own club. Let's look at my coaching staff that I put together. Is it representative of our community? And do I look at, just really check yourself. And I think that's what it's going to really get to. We've got Monica Majuk, Majuk's sister. We've got 6 South Sudanese kids coming into a clinic tomorrow. We're going to do more in the Indigenous space with the South Sudanese tournament. We want to kind of grow that one as well. And so I think we have a greater impact in how we assist, racism, to just make sure it's just not in basketball. And we do that by checking ourselves first.
No doubt. Great idea. And this is what so much is about, the conversation and I guess exposing people who may not be really aware of some of the difficulties that so many people have had to deal with their whole entire lives. Dino, we appreciate it. We appreciate it as well joining us. Of course, interesting time when it comes to putting that roster together and the conversations going at Melbourne United, mate. So we'll talk July 15. When you get a few locked away, no doubt you'll be back on NBL Overtime. Looking forward to it.
Cheers. Thank you.
Dean Vickerman, head coach of Melbourne United. And boys, we're talking free agents. We expect Anthony Drimmick to not be at Adelaide. Not sure where he will be, but he has put together a pretty exciting mixtape. Have a look at this. Thanks, Dino.
Beautiful buckets.
Hashtag NBL Overtime. Decent mixtape, boys. Decent mixtape. Anthony Drimmick, who, of course, had a really good, probably his best year last year in the NBL. But we do know he's on the move. Well, we're assuming so. Liam, you've been reporting it for the better part of 3 months now that it'll end up at the Brisbane Bullets. You're still sticking fat there?
I am, although Drim announced himself last night that he signed with the Perth Bandits. So a little spanner in the works in the mix here. But I tell you, I'm high on Drimmick. I've been high on him I've been waiting for the real breakout for a couple of years now. And we saw some really great signs from him last year. Is he ever going to get there? Is he going to get to that point that we think he can? Maybe. I like the way he goes about it. I think it was a mistake for the 36ers to just so early in this process go, do you know what? Nah, we don't want you. You can go and, feel free to go and talk to everybody. I feel like that's a big mistake because he could start on that 36ers team this year. He's a good guy. He plays with a tenacity that I love. And I think his arrow's pointed up.
And we spoke to John Riley last week on NBL Rewind. He was raving about him in the collegiate ranks when he had him. So you're right, though. Like, I'm not saying he should definitely have stayed at Adelaide as they go in a slightly different direction, obviously. But Homicide, to just call it, the season hadn't even been finished, and they called the fact that Froling and Drimmick, two young Australians with probably their best basketball still to come, could go explore other options. Interesting move, I thought, by any professional sporting team to do that in that time.
First of all, that mixtape is super saucy. Drimmick is looking the goods. Always loved his energy, his passion defensively. He brought it. Whenever he was confident, letting it go from the land of plenty, it would go in. Just him being aggressive at both ends was something that I loved to watch when I saw him play. Maybe this year would be the breakout year. The difference between elite and just a mere mortal in the game is just focus. How long can you consistently be locked in, game in, game out? So if he's ready to be focused consistently, game in, game out, this should be a breakthrough year. Every year he's shown more and more and more, but it was still inconsistent. So if he can lock in consistently right now, this upcoming season, and after that mixtape, my juices is flowing. That mixtape is crazy.
I don't know that the Bullets as a landing place is the right place for him to have that breakout. There's a lot of cooks in that kitchen. And he's a guy that is ready to start, get a lot of the rock, be attacking the rim relentlessly, a lot of free throw attempts, and take his game to the next level. Now, wants to play with certain guys, wants to play in a certain system, wants to win a championship. That's cool. Guys want to do certain things, but I get the feeling like we're not going to see the meteoric rise from him there that we might have seen had he perhaps gone somewhere else.
While I don't disagree with anything you said there, I'm actually really intrigued about what Brisbane are going to do. Now, if they get Froling, if they get Drimmick, obviously Sobey, looks like Glidden's on the way out. Well, he's definitely on the way out. Lamar, are they coming with one import? Is Magnay going to be there? I know there's a lot of questions and a lot of intrigue right now, but this Brisbane Bullets roster, that underachieved last year, we thought they were going to be better, gave themselves an opportunity to make the playoffs, then fell that little bit short. We spoke about this. They may only go one import. In fact, I think they will only go one import.
Cam, don't get me wrong. I love it for Brisbane. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Bring him in for sure. If he's good to come, but we'll see how it plays out.
Maybe he might be the man. Who knows? They might lean on him to go all the way. All right, and it has led us into a new segment, which we're going to talk about. Should a player or should a player re-sign at a club or should a club re-sign them? We're going to call it yeah or nah. I wanted to call it yeah or Emmett nah, and I was overruled by a guy at the back. It just works. Play on words. Hang on. I haven't got Emmett nah down today, but that's a question we might have next week. Hey, let's start with Tariko White. Perth Wildcats. Should he, not Willie, should he stay or not? Club, obviously it has to factor into it as well. I'll start with you, Homicide.
Yes. 2 for 2. Mm-hmm. You can't change a winning recipe.
There was some reports that he may have been going to sign at Southeast Melbourne Phoenix, which got slapped out of the ballpark real fast. What do you think, Liam?
Yes, but it depends on what they can do with their front court.
Yeah.
Depends on what Nick Kay does. And I'm hearing more and more he's headed to Europe. Mm-hmm. And less likely that he's going to return. Still perhaps on the cards. But if they re-sign Tariko White and Bryce Cotton doesn't naturalise, then there's no Miles Plumlee. What are you doing there in the front court? Are you bringing back Angus Brandt? Do you somehow get Duop Reith out of his contract at FMP and add him in there? If you can get something done in the front court, make sure you're solid there. absolutely you bring Tariko White back. But if you can't, and you need to bring back Miles Plumlee so that you've got a big body up front, then maybe that's Clint Steindl to step in and play more minutes.
John Robertson, Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. Yeah or nah? Liam?
Nah. Nah for me. He was great for them last season in what he did. He was perfect, I think, for as a year one kind of guy. But I think they just need something a bit different in that spot. For me, he's a 5'10" shooting guard, and that's good. That's fine. So is Bryce Cotton. But I just don't feel like that works with the South East Melbourne Phoenix and what they've got together. They need a distributor. They need a guy, and Scott Machado's don't grow on trees, but they need a guy that Cam Glidden, if he's in Southeast Melbourne Phoenix, Mitch Creek, a bunch of the other guys on that roster, Ty Wesley, are singing the praises of later in the season because he has made them better. They need a guy with some length who can get some deflections, be an impact defender, and a guy who can kind of get everyone involved. And I'm not certain that's John Robertson for me.
Homicide, agree?
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good. Sweet. Let's go straight to Brandon Ashley then at New Zealand. I'll start with you, Homicide, because you're all saying bring them all back. Is he one of them?
He's gotten better as the season progressed, but he just continued to get into foul trouble. I love his rim protection. I love what he brought, but he was just always in foul trouble. I thought that he did not adjust quick enough or well enough with these referees. So with that said, I wouldn't bring him back.
Liam?
Yeah.
Yep, bring him back, or yep, I agree?
Yep, bring him back.
Okay.
I wasn't super high on him when they first signed him. I thought it's going to be a little bit soft coming into the NBL, get pushed around a little. And maybe he does need to toughen up a little bit. Maybe that's where the fouls come into play. Tough in mind about when to, know when to not to go after it, or when to step off, when to be physical and when not to. But I loved him for them in the second half of last season. Talk about Scotty Hops. I think Brandon Ashley was a big part of that run they made at the end of the season. You've got Rob Lowe. Maybe Rob Lowe starts at the 5 and Ashley comes off the bench to protect fouls in the first few minutes. But I think he gives them some length and athleticism that they need in that front court that they don't have with Finn Delaney and Rob Lowe.
Speaking of Kiwis, he didn't play last year in New Zealand, but Mika Vicona, of course, a legend. And this is more intrigue around Brisbane. Yeah or nah? Mika Vicona back at Brisbane for you, Liam?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. That he signed that 2-year contract when he first came over. Really struggled to get on the floor last year, obviously, right? But I still think, 1-year contract. You need that veteran presence for me a lot. You got Froling by the sounds of things, Matt Hodgson, Will Magnay, Tyrell Harrison, bunch of kind of guys that could do with a veteran presence to help them out at practice. I think the big thing is how often is he out there on the practice floor? Vico spoke about that with Casey Prather earlier. Like, we need a guy that's out there 5 days a week. If he's out there regularly enough, I think, he's a great guy to have deep on that roster.
Homicide, we rolling with Mika?
Time to go home. Time to put him on the coaching staff. He could do all of that stuff on the coaching staff.
So back to the Breakers by home, you mean? Be a part of the New Zealand?
No, just hang him up, retire.
Yep. Okay.
And join the Bullet staff. He could do all of that stuff on the staff.
All right. Now,
if it's not Mika, if you're going to do that with Mika, go get Dave Anderson.
Well,
that's a good pickup.
Yeah, don't go too early, Liam, because we're about to get into the Hawks and Brian Goorjian, and we're going to start with AJ Ogilvie. Yeah or nah? AJ Ogilvie at the Hawks. Yes or no? I'm looking at you, Liam. Sorry. We're in different areas, so I understand you both on the same computer screen.
Nah.
Oh, okay.
Nah, don't re-sign AJ Ogilvie. And I was strong this time last year, pushing for the Hawks to make sure they got that done and bring him back. That's all good and well. I didn't feel like it worked beautifully with Josh Boone, the way they played that. But in my chat with Brian Goorjian last week, I asked him, what do you like about the blank canvas, the fact you got nobody on the roster? And he said, I'm not for everyone. And everyone's not for me. And this way I can make sure we've got every player on the roster wants to play for me. I want to coach that guy, and it's going to work. I don't think AJ Ogilvie is a Brian Goorjian type guy, and I don't think that would work.
You agree, Homicide?
I just think that I haven't seen enough consistency with his play over the last 2 years that's worthy of re-signing him.
Okay. Oh, on that.
Oh, hold on. In the league? Think there's a spot for AJ Ogilvie in the league?
That wasn't the question that's asked. Re-sign him or not?
It was actually, I'm about to ask now, where does he fit then? If he doesn't fit at the Hawks, if it isn't the Hawks where he's going to re-sign, where does AJ Ogilvie get a job? Or if he does get a job, does he? Liam?
That's not the question.
Whoever wants to answer
it. See, because I think in the right situation, he can be great. He can give you great minutes.
Which he has in the
There's
past.
no situation better than starting center. What situation? What more do you want? That sounds right if you're not getting playing time. He's a starting center in the league.
I just don't think
what situation is more right than that?
I just don't think he's a starting center in the league anymore. Okay. But if you bring him off the bench, like Perth have Majuk.
Mm-hmm.
If that's AJ Ogilvie, heck, you're getting excellent minutes as your backup 5 in that situation.
How do you know that?
That's my read on where he's at and his production.
So you know he's going to get excellent. He's going to give you excellent minutes.
I think
what did he give the last 2 years? What did he give the last 2 years?
Yeah, the expectations were set a bit too high for him as a starter for me.
All right.
So if you don't think he'll give you good minutes as a backup, you don't think there's a spot for him in the league.
All right, man.
Well, hold on. Is that what you're saying?
What I'm telling you is he gave you 4 games in a total of 2 seasons. Very good. That's what I'm telling you. It's not expectations. How much more opportunity do you want?
Okay. So then keep it 100. Is it?
What do you mean keep it 100? I said it. He gave you 4 games in 2 seasons. How much more 100 do you want?
So you don't think AJ Ogilvie will be in the league next year, Corey?
Look, I don't know if he's going to be in the league next year. The topic of this segment is, should he be re-signed or not?
Okay.
I said no, and I stated my reasons why.
Liam, based on the player you think, with the expectations dropping and how it might be with AJ Ogilvie, where do you think a good landing place for him is?
Okay, good question. Well, let's talk about, say, the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix.
Yeah. They
need something else alongside Pinot.
Mm-hmm.
And if they can't get something better, then I think, you could get good minutes out of AJ Ogilvie in that spot.
I agree, because I think Pinot and Simon Mitchell and the crew might disagree, but I think Pinot's earned an opportunity to be the starting centre come opening night. And unless they come and get an import centre that is unbelievably high profile and we know is going to perform. We saw the Keith Benson situation last year where he didn't live up to his own expectations and how everyone thought he would play. I think Dane Pinot's deserved the shot to be the starting centre. And I also think if you're going to do that, you can probably get AJ Ogilvie to back him up without breaking the bank. Allow yourself to go and get a higher volume score in a different position, maybe as one of the guards. So I don't mind that idea.
I think another spot might be Cairns, for example. Like if you're not bringing back Cam Oliver, if that doesn't work and you end up having to bring up DJ Newball, and you go that path, then you go, okay, well, let's re-sign Nate Jawai. And between Nate Jawai and AJ Ogilvie, those guys will share the minutes at the 5.
I see both points. I would be stunned if AJ Ogilvie doesn't have an NBL job next year. Not saying he's going to set the world alight, but I would be stunned if he wasn't on a roster somewhere. All right, which leads us into the next conversation, because last week you went one-on-one with your former coach, Brian Goorjian. And has done a wonderful job in the last week of doing all media. Like, it doesn't seem like a day goes by where I see a TV or a radio station around the country that has been graced by the presence of Brian Goorjian. Done a wonderful job telling old school stories as well, and mixing them in with his vision for the Hawks going forward. It's been great for the league, and looking forward to him getting towards his free agency date and see where it goes. What does he do? I'm going to start with you, Liam. What does he do? Where do we go from here with the Hawks, with players out of contract? Who does he go and try and steal? Who does he try and encourage to come home? What do you think Brian Goorjian should do?
Well, the first step is to re-sign as many of those 5, and I'm going to say 5 talented youngsters that's out there from last season. So you're talking about Sam Froling, Sunday Deck, Angus Glover, Emmett Nah, who's not so young, but he's in that mix, and Dan Greeter for me, despite the injury. Go and get as many of those 5 as you can. Bring back Tim Conrad. I'd say sign him up. He can still give you some really good minutes. And then for me, go after Deng Adel. That's the guy I'd like to see Gorge and the Hawks, that kind of marquee signing for them. I think in that system, he would be really, really good. Then go after a big athletic guy, like a guy like Keanu Pinder, who I'll speak more on a little bit in a minute. Go after a guy like that. And then go get a really talented next star. And, we can talk about the next stars in that situation, but with Brian Colangelo and his experience, his extensive network over there, his interest in the Next Stars program, and his family's involvement with USA Basketball, which involves not just the senior team, but all of those junior teams as well. I'd love to see them bring in like a Kate Cunningham or a Jonathan Kuminga or a really good, talented next star. And then you fill the rest of the other gaps with 2 really good imports.
Homicide, if that's the way they go, well, one, is that the way you would go?
Oh, man. It's a tough task. It's a real tough task. These are all theories and, what we would personally like, but NBL ain't what the NBL used to be. So, the question is, what is the goal? We know his track record, but what is his goal this season? Get to the finals, go to the grand finals, win the championship. You know what I mean? And then whatever your expectation is, that's how you're going to have to recruit. Because just because you automatically jump on a team with your track record does not mean you're going to hit your target. This is not a cupcake league. You got Cairns. Brisbane just made it. New Zealand, Perth, Sydney, United. And you finished last year. So it's a tough task. It's definitely, he's going to need more than his track record to get this thing done. So I don't know what he's going to do.
Are we expecting the purse strings to be a little looser this year? Of course, we've always had some financial issues when it comes to Illawarra in the past, and right there on the cusp of trying to run it as cheaply as possible. And they've done, great results over the years on this. A couple of people involved in the ownership, Homicide. Do you expect them to be able to have a bit of money to fling around to try and entice a Deng Adel or, Matthew Dellavedova or someone?
All I can tell you is I can't tell you anything, to be honest.
Does that mean you won't or you can't?
No, I don't know anything.
Okay.
I ask. I don't want to know anything anyway. Yep. Whenever you come out with something, I'll comment on it. But like you said, Liam, with the connects that that front office has, you can expect some great signings coming, down New South Wales way. That's all I can say. I don't know how he's going to go about doing it. Good luck to him, because this is going to be a test on his their recruiting ability.
Cam, I think Gorge's signing on to be the head coach tells you everything you need to know about that.
Yeah, that's what I'm assuming.
He's and it's not just that they're paying him.
Yeah,
he's had that conversation. Said, look, are we gonna spend some money and get a roster? Because I've said this before. I can coach until the cows come home, but if I don't have any talent on the roster, we're not going to win. And they're coming in to win. He said that last week. We're going to come in. We're going to represent the area. We're going to play the right way. We're going to come in and win. So I think they're going to be in the mix for sure.
All right. Hashtag NBL Overtime to get involved. I think it's, yet again, it's doubly as intriguing when Brian Gorge, and the legend that he is, comes back to the league. That obviously adds so much to it. We said this last week. I have no doubt that where players in their own mind might have been thinking they were going to maybe head, or conversations officially or unofficially they might have had, they'll be second-guessing that. Maybe not definitely turning their back on what they were thinking, but there was definitely be a conversation had that they probably didn't expect to have 2 weeks ago. based on the fact that Brian Goorjian is back in the league. And I'm not just talking about the players, the 5 you mentioned there. I'm talking about players who are out of contract right around the NBL and maybe internationally with an Australian passport.
They're existing in the marketplace in a completely different place now under this new ownership than they were this time last year. Now, you remember that we were in the studio, we're talking about Casper Ware and Melo Trimble and who's going to go where. And there's Simon Stratford, the owner of the Hawks, on Twitter. So say, well, hold on. We're trying to have a conversation with Melo Trimble. And we were like, yeah, cool. He's not signing at the Hawks. You're just not in that ball game. I don't think that's how it is this year in this current situation. Free agency has waited for them. It's been pushed back predominantly for them, and they're going to be ready to go. And I think they're going to be in the mix when it comes to the conversations that they want to be in the mix in.
I've raised Matthew Dellavedova before on this show. I think he's the perfect place to start. Olympic year, you can lean on different things, and I've said it. I still think he can get an NBA roster spot. That's not one thing I'm dismissing, but the time of his career, his age, his young family, Olympics, Basketball Australia, I'd be getting them involved to try and entice him home and be that sort of go-between between selling the dream, the Australian dream, and men's basketball as we head towards Tokyo 2021. All right, hashtag NBL Overtime to get involved. Just on the Next Stars, it's an interesting situation because COVID has thrown everything out as Dean Vickerman spoken earlier chat when we had with him off the top of the show. Does this make it easier or harder, do you think, to get a Next Star here to Australia right now, considering what's going on? Collegiate basketball, of course, collegiate sports is up in the air. In fact, academically, it's up in the air. The NBA, the draft is pushed back. We have no idea what's happening when it comes to a lot of the periphery stuff. What do you think, Homicide? Easier or harder to entice a Next Star right now to the NBL?
I'm not sure. There's a lot going on in America, but I don't know. I don't have the answer to that.
Yeah, well, neither do I. That's why. What do you think, Liam? Or is it neutral?
I think easier.
Okay.
I think the G League program makes things a bit harder. We've seen that with Jalen Green and these other guys. But I think between the COVID situation and, I mean, the US can't get out of their own way in terms of that at all. And the NCAA and everything that's been going on with the NCAA for a long time with their exploitation of athletes. I mean, if you're a top tier basketball prospect, I don't think the NCAA has been less appealing than it is right now. And not all these kids are going to take the G League route. There's especially now that there are some legit top prospects in that program already. There can be too many cooks in the kitchen. I think some of these guys, and there are still some really good guys out there. I mentioned some guys before, are going to look at LaMelo going top 5. They're going to look at RJ Hampton go top 20. And they're going to go, the NBL route works. It's been proven to work. I think we're going to see some talented guys in the league this season.
Yeah, I think that, interestingly, too, what Dean Vickerman said earlier about the draft and stash and maybe the slight tinkering of the thought process by NBL teams as well. Now, this year, when we have these discussions, I think you've got to think a bit of a long-term vision as well, because obviously this year 2020 has been thrown into disarray and it's chaotic in so many avenues. But I think the fact is, Didi Lozada, and words from Dean Vickerman said he was the best Next Star who was here, both on and off the court, and playing the entire year might actually change the idea. Maybe not for this year, but next couple of years going forward as well. All right, now Homicide, you got a new seg?
Yeah, something like that. Something like that.
What are we calling it?
Corey's Couture Corner.
Right. Explain it. What exactly is it?
Well, it's just, a lot of guys have a lot of personality and they wear their personality. So we just, when we talk about critique some of the guys' dress sense, players in NBL, their dress sense and their style. So we went on their Instagram and had a little snoop to see who has the swagger. Shout out to DJ Newbill. Right now he has high-end streetwear on, which is Gucci sweatsuits. This is what you call summertime fly, summertime fresh. You're home. He's from the East Coast. He's in Philly. He has a pair of Nike Air Force Ones on, low socks or no socks. Nice timepiece on his wrist. and a nice Gucci sweatsuit, short suit, matching top. And that's just how he's flexing.
I tell you what, if there's two people involved in this conversation, it's Liam and I.
Brandon Ashley.
Oh, here we go.
This is high-end fashion, lifestyle fashion right here. This is internationally accepted on any level, anywhere in the world. Nice clear lens frames. I call these the non-confrontational look. Slash model look. This can work anywhere in the world. He's accepted internationally anywhere. Looking real good. Shout out to B. Ashley.
What makes it non-confrontational?
I mean, it's just a cool, easy look, versus a guy that comes through with dark shades. You might look at him like, oh, this guy might be up to something. Versus a guy that wears a clear see-through lens. You'd be like, this guy's non-threatening. That's the non-confrontational look.
So when you're styling it courtside at Melbourne Arena on your night off, is that confrontational?
No, because they're not dark. They're see-through.
Yeah.
Come on,
Liam.
This is the best I've got, Cam.
I
got nothing. Why do you think I'm sitting here quiet? What have we got?
Yeah.
Oh.
This is one of my favorite outfits right here. Reese Bay has on the coolest pair of Nike sneakers that are out on the market. I actually ordered mine yesterday. So he has the short cut pants right above the ankle. That's slim fit, and a nice slim fit tee. This is a relaxed fit that's worn. This casual wear. You can wear this anywhere and be good. You could actually throw a blazer on and look semi-professional, semi-formal.
I haven't been through his Instagram, obviously, but I'd like to know what
event. Shout out to Reese Vade. Reese Vade got some swag.
Yeah, he has, but like he's obviously his girlfriend or his wife or whoever that might be is dressed up, really set for maybe a wedding, and then Reese rocks up in this.
Yeah, but this is a cool casual look. If he has a blazer on over it, it fits for almost every occasion.
Was not expecting Reese Vade
wasn't
to
either,
pop up.
I do like the kick.
I like to see everybody come and show their swag. So I'm really appreciative. I love fashion, and I love people that take that respect themselves enough to put on, some smooth stuff. I think it matches the personality. But this guy, oh my God! Now look. This is the baddest man in the land on court, but off court, Bryce Cotton, you gotta step your game up. You're gonna have to.
Now,
you're the baddest man on the land on the court, but off the court, you looking like the baddest man on the land. So I'm telling you gotta step your game up, Bryce.
Just for transparency, of course, 2 of the 3 people on NBL Overtime got sent care packages of Bryce Cotton's merchandise. I'm still filthy.
Hey,
but
the T-shirt line is nice.
Is this what he's sending out?
Yo, Bryce, listen, man. You got to step your game up, bro. Love your game on the court, but we got to we got to do better with this one. So, all you guys in the NBL, post some of your style, post some of the flavor. We're going to give a shout out to the fly guys and the not so fly guys. We're going to urge you to do better.
Corey's watching.
Yeah. Corey's watching.
Hey, Cam, speaking of people stepping their game up.
Yes.
I noticed you stepping your game up, your workout game. Get a look at this. This is you. Talk us through this, Cam, because I've got a bit of an issue with this. There's a lot of look at me about the location of this workout.
I'm going to point this out. Oh, here we go.
This story is very good.
Shout out to Rise Nation.
Firstly, I don't choose the location, Liam. I just simply go and get trained.
Okay.
And Jay does all his training around those areas. He does it in 3 different locations. That's the closest to me. And obviously outside in COVID at the rest of it right now. This
is right in the middle of the Melbourne famous sporting precinct. You got Punt Road there. You've got the cars. For a sports media personality in Melbourne, that is the biggest look at me location in town.
I'm going to tell you this right now. The place, Melbourne Arena there. Of course, we've got MCG, Old Olympic Park, Amy Park. We've got athletes left, right and centre. So I just fitted in nicely. They just assumed I was another pro athlete working on my craft. So thank you. Just trying to stave off some quarantine kgs, Liam.
I hear you.
Before we do get out of here, you did mention it early. Keanu Pinder, Liam, I'm not going to let you get away with it. What do you got for us?
I'll just make sure.
And Keanu Pinder, yeah, I'm hearing that he's looking more and more likely he's going to sign in the NBL.
Yep.
Been told that 3 teams are chasing his signature. This is a guy who, obviously the son of Tiny Pinder, 2-time NBL champ. And he was the backup to DeAndre Ayton at the University of Arizona, played the last couple of years in Poland, uber athlete. And his agent, Daniel Moldovan, tells me that he's been pretty happy with the offers that he's been receiving in recent times. So this guy's looking more and more likely like he's going to be in the NBL next season.
Now, what type of office and what type of franchises are we talking?
Well, we'll get more specific maybe as time goes by, hopefully. But, I mean, there would not be many more athletic Aussie ball players on the planet than this kid. So it'll be fun to see him in the league.
What's his position?
He's like a 4, an athletic 4-5.
And what team did his dad play for?
What's that?
What team did his dad play for?
Oh, my goodness. His dad played for a bunch of teams, a few teams, but
2-time champion for who?
the Wildcats.
I think it's a rhetorical question by Homicide. I think something's cooking. All right. Yeah. Nothing else?
Oh, he just needs to play. He was in Perth media a little while back, saying, "Look, I'm interested in getting offers from the NBL, but I need to play. I need somewhere where I'm at a point in my career where I need to play."
That's true.
Athletic 4? Who may be going to Europe? Might be a nice spot. I'm just talking out loud. You know me, I don't know anything. I just know it when it gets posted, but I'm just saying.
No, we do know you. And when you talk out loud, you got something cooking. You haven't officially.
I don't know.
So
I don't have anything cooking, man. I'm just,
All right. Hey, big week. Mitch McCarron going to join Adam Gibson on his podcast. That'll drop tomorrow. The Magic Man, Steve Carfino, going to join Liam and I for NBL Rewind. Who you got for isolation conversation this week, Liam?
Sam Froling.
Ooh.
See where his head's at.
You just told us that he's got to re-sign at the Hawks. BG's got to get him back. So we're going to look to that as well. Plenty to get into. # NBL Overtime. Boys, we'll see you next week.
Peace.
Catch.